Hey, it's CurlyHairedVanguard back today with some more Dear Days. This time we're using Welstra, which is actually one of my favorite decks just because of how intricate and complicated it is. Today's list is going to be pretty different from the list that I did for the deck profile, but here's the list. Let's jump into the fight. So, we just got set 9 here in Dear Days, which gave Welstra a huge buff. It was in a pretty awkward spot in set 7 when it was first released. Didn't get anything from set 8. Then for set 9, it actually got a bunch of playable pieces, such as the Freiheitz here, as well as the Lubetzel. We're going to go ahead and discard the Ixra here. We also, different from when I did the deck profile for this, we actually also have the dog promo that you can actually play in place of the grade 1 product, which wasn't really all that great, but we'll get to see that in a bit here. It seems that we might just be going up against Nirvana, Mahar Nirvana. They did get the promo in this set as well for both Jiva and Mahar. I don't know if it really does anything for the deck per se. It's kind of an awkward one for Mahar, even though you can technically use it in both decks, because it says it has to be discarded by the ability of your Mahar Vanguard, or your Nirvana Vanguard I should say, which would be Mahar in that case, but Mahar doesn't have any skill that makes it discard, so it's pretty much useless for its second skill to let you, I think, draw or something like that. Then it has another skill where it just kind of, instead of your overdress stuff or cross overdress stuff going to drop or getting bound or whatever. Oh my god, I knew that was gonna happen. I knew it. They instead all go to the bottom of the deck or something like that. Great. So yeah, this is the dog that I'm talking about here. Mobile Kennel, Irongarten here. I only played 2 of them, and of course they both went into damage, because that is just how things go. So we're just going to go ahead and ride into the grade 2, and grade 1 is not going to be able to resolve because we just don't have anything. So I think we just draw 1? No, we just don't. We don't get anything. So we're just going to play the Lubetzel here, which is a new product that they got in set 9, which is really great. On place, you draw 1, soul charge 1, which is pretty cool. Not so cool were my draw and my soul charges, so we're just having the worst possible time here. But it also has a skill when you activate it as a product. Its skill is pretty good in that in main phase, as you've activated as a product, you actually get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and just call anything that is grade less than or equal to your Vanguard. Typically what I like to do is go for the Boba Mine. Yeah, go for the Boba Mine and then use that. We might just be a clown here, go double Boba Mine. Because it's going to retire it next turn, so maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, maybe we won't rush them. Yeah, I tend to like to go double Boba Mine or something like that. Sorry, not double. I like to pull out Boba Mine from the Lubetzel and then use the skill here of the Uber to Soul Blast 1 activated product, and then use the Irongarten so I have that column that I can swing in, and then refund the cost for the Ixra and also the Uber, so that I can just play some other stuff. We can get this, which is decent, which is this grade 2, secretary or accountant or whatever the heck his name is. So at least we can do something here. Let's just go to battle here. We're just going to swing in. And that's typically how the turn 2 goes, just so you can get some aggression, because that was kind of the problem with this deck, is that it didn't really do anything turn 2, and the Irongarten really helps out with that, because the Irongarten, whenever you operate it, it just becomes a 10k with, 1 damage, and it can also boost, right? So you can use it to boost or just swing in, so it gives you an easy way without having to spend something from hand to go ahead and attack your opponent with, get some aggression in, which is really helpful. Let's go ahead and put this in. Maybe I shouldn't have done that one. I don't know. I'm thrown off by the fact that these 2 things are in damage. It's really throwing off my game here, but it's fine. And then you kind of swing like this, and then it's your next turn that really makes or breaks the whole game plan. We're in an okay spot because we did get one of the new cards here, the Freiheitz, which makes this deck actually work, which is great. You'll see why I should have used the other bubble mine in a bit. But Freiheitz has an insane skill. His first skill is that on place you can counterblast one if your order zone has a set order. Discard a card from your hand, and then choose from your deck either a card with the same name as your Vanguard, so Persona, right, typically, or you can choose a product. And then if you have Welstra as your Vanguard, you can then go ahead and activate a product for free, bypassing both the fact that the Freiheitz Maximum can't be played, that you can't play this from hand, so it bypasses that. But it also bypasses the fact you can only play one order per turn. Thankfully it's the arcs, so they can't retire my bubble mine, so I might be able to get to use it. So that's really good, right? Being able to play this in an easy way, especially on turn 3, is amazing. Because the only way you could do this before was, I think there was some grade 1 that, similar to Ixrat, let you activate the skill of the grade 2 product I used to use, which the grade 2 product then said, if you rolled a grade 3 this turn, over a grade 3, you can then put this card to drop to then play Freiheitz Maximum. So this deck was locked to like turn 4, and even then it couldn't really do anything too crazy. But now, with the Freiheitz, you can actually, you know, get things going pretty easily. And actually get a bunch of your orders ready to go, so you can actually use your Freiheitz to activate them, or operate them, I should say, and reduce your opponent's, you know, power, so on and so forth. I don't really need counter charge, I think, so we're gonna try and guard this and not get, you know, mollywopped over here. Alright, we're just gonna get mollywopped anyways and lose a card, but at least the power has to go here and the crit here, so that's somehow good. The other skill of the Freiheitz is that when it attacks the Vanguard, if you have Welstra, you Soul Blast 2 and activate or operate a product. So that's how you can actually operate products. The other issue with Welstra is that it only had, you know, one way to activate a product, which was in main phase, using the like hollow foil and like the Ixra. That was the only way you could activate in main phase. The only other way you can operate it in battle was from Welstra's skill, but now you can activate it in battle multiple times, which lets you do some crazy, you know, shenanigans here. We just kind of have to take this, honestly, and hope that nothing good goes to damage. I could drop the PG, but alright, thankfully we did end up healing out of that, which is great. I don't think we're going to end up winning this game, to be honest, but depending on what we draw here, we might be able to do something good. Definitely not what I needed there. Unfortunately, we do have to lose in Lubetsu, which is fine because I can just replace it, because as Uber says, you put an order from your order zone to drop to then play a grade 2 order. So we'll just drop a Lubetsu to play a Lubetsu. Typically, you drop the Iron Garden, which you play from the grade 1, and the Iron Garden says that when he's discarded or put from order to drop, you can put him back into order zone or put him into your hand, which is insanely good. What we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and try and use this X right here and activate our Lubetsu, see if we can get another Freiheitz, and then we might be able to actually get things going here. We do get the Freiheitz, okay, so we can actually go ahead and pop off. It's going to be crazy risky, but we're just going to go ahead and have to do it here. We're going to counterblast here. We're going to discard this to just search it out, right, and play it. We can search out the other one. Of course, every time you operate, Welstra gets 5k. We can search out the other one, but we can only activate one anyways. Plus, I don't know if I want to lose the card in hand. So what we'll do is we'll just play this one. We won't use the skill here, and we'll just go to battle, and you can get to see how this sort of combo works. So we're gonna swing in. Doesn't really matter in this case which side we go for. We're gonna go for the right Freiheitz, and then Soul Blast 2 to operate a product. We're gonna go and operate the Freiheitz Maximum, who has a bunch of skills when you operate it. First and foremost, it lets you retire one of your opponent's rear guards. Then it reduces your opponent's power, Vanguard's power, by 5, and then you can counterblast one to return a card on field to your hand, and then call it out as a rear guard with 23k, 1 damage, normal amount. But we can keep doing that. We can choose to not call it out just for example have our 1 copy here and just keep using that to reduce our opponent here to -5, right at the end of all of this. And then we can call it out at the end. Had I had 1 more counterblast, or the Bulba Mine was on this side like I had said originally, then we could have actually gotten an extra for our Schultz maximum, and we could have actually gotten 5 attacks this turn. But here we're just going to have to settle for 4 attacks. We're actually going to operate it yet again. The for Schultz maximum, you got to make sure in the order zone. So I look at it in order zone and I see for Schultz and then I see Lewetzel, but when it comes up to you to select it, it is in reverse order, which is really obnoxious. So many times I'll see for Schultz Lewetzel, and then I will you know, accidentally use Welstra because it switches place when it tells you to select an order. So just keep in mind when you see that. I'll tell you what I mean when I go for Welstra's attack here. But we're going to operate again. We're not going to call it out yet because I want to operate it again with Welstra to lower the attack even more. You know, burn out this hand and rear guards as much as I possibly can, so I can actually have a chance of surviving here next turn. So now we're going to use Welstra's skill here, which just says when he attacks, we just operate 1. Those are just Welstra's 2 skills. But you saw there's Lewetzel, then the Verschultz. But if you look at the order zone, it's Verschultz, then Lewetzel. So that's that. I ended up getting mixed up a lot when I was practicing for this video. Just doing the story mode to like grind stuff out. But thankfully, I got it all sorted out. But now we'll use the final skill of Professional Maximum to call itself out as a 23k attacker. So we can get a 4th attack here, as well as bounce the Freiheitz back to our hand. So that next turn, we actually have a way to get, you know, our 5th attack. And we're just going to get the over trigger, which is going to help us catch up immensely. We're going to put the 100 million here, obviously, because this hits in, and it's going to get double power and double crit. So as if their attack power wasn't low enough already. And we're going to check a critical trigger, which is kind of yikes for my opponent. So they better have a PG, otherwise they're just going to have to take, just lose here, essentially. We're going to push them to 4. They can't heal until like the very last damage. So that's one way to turn it around, you know. They did manage to put this in the nation that has the craziest over trigger, the craziest card, I think, in all of Vanguard. No matter what card comes out, no card I think will ever be stronger than the Brancade over trigger. So now they have to have a PG, otherwise they just lose, or they can 6 damage heal / OT. But they're -5, not that it matters, because I'm shooting for 200 million. They unfortunately don't have anything, so they're just going to take the attack here. Let's see if they can heal out of this. No heals. Unfortunately, expect that SP to the damage zone, and we're going to win. Very, very questionable. So, as I showed, here's the list. It's somewhat simple. It's pretty standard for the most part. We play 4 of the Welstra. I actually play 4 of the Thresholds Maximum here because, you know, once one of them goes to damage or goes to soul, it's pretty rough if you're only playing 3 copies and you guarantee you'd have to play the other 2. So I just play the max copies just for max consistency to make sure I see them, because without this, the deck does nothing. We play 4 of the Lewetzel. Because this is just really good at filling up your soul, so you can actually use your Freiheitz skills as well as drawing you cards. We play 4 of the Freiheitz, which is kind of mandatory no matter what, because you need this skill to both play your Verschultz and also to be able to activate, sorry, I keep saying activate, but it's operate that we want to say, right? To operate your Verschultz. We play 4 Bulba Mine because we really need the soul and the counterblast, so this gives it back to us. Then we're playing 2 of the Iron Guard in here. We're playing 2 because if you draw the extra one, it's fine. You can either play it or just discard it and then it goes to soul. So it's just an easy way to get soul. And then the the trigger lineup is kind of odd. It's 7 crits and then 2 fronts, 2 draws. You can definitely do 3 draws, 3 fronts, 4, whatever, however you feel comfortable. I've been, you know, been silly and just been doing this constant 7 crit with the blue over trigger, plus 2 fronts, 2 draws in the actual TCG. So I've been trying this out in like every single deck, and the first deck I actually started doing that was with Welstra, because the shield value is nice. You typically don't have a lot of cards in hand, but of course, because you don't have a lot of cards in hand, the draws are nice, right? But you end up discarding so many cards that sometimes having something that's 20k shield really helps you out just to survive. Because the deck is very explosive, but it's relatively a glass cannon, even though it doesn't technically have to be. But in general, to be able to survive nowadays, you kind of just have to go all in. We're playing 3 copies of the Ixra here, who just says if you didn't operate a product this turn, you counterblast 1, rest her, to then choose a product in your order zone and operate it. So you can use this if you want to activate Lobetzel here, which lets you look at top 5 and call something out, or you can also do Threshold's Maximum if you want to try and do Thresholds 4 times in a turn. So if your opponent has a full board, you can just wipe out their full board with this. And then the last card, the last 2 cards we have here is the Sortie here, who just says if you operate for Schultz and you didn't countercharge, you Soul Blast to countercharge. So this you just use to just have a grade 2 and actually be able to use the skill for Schultz to countercharge. Counterblast thanks to this countercharge and then call it out. So just gives you a little bit of extra countercharge. The Soul Blast is kind of insane because sometimes you end up paying like 5 Soul Blasts in a single turn just to be able to 5 Soul Blasts and sometimes like 4 counterblasts just to be able to go off. So it's a massively, insanely resource heavy deck. And the last card we play here is just 1 copy of the grade 2 for Schultz. This just says you can, when you ride a grade 3 over a grade 3, you put this to drop, play for Schultz from hand or I think deck. So yeah, just search your deck or hand for Schultz Maximum and then you play it. It also has the skill that you can retire front row, and if not, if there's nothing to retire, you can minus your opponent 5k. So that's just kind of like a backup if like you are in turn 2, you ride over and you're about to use Uber skill, but you don't have any, Freiheitz. You can go this with the safety and play a little bit slow and then Persona ride, and you have at least 1 for Schultz Maximum for your next turn, right? If you have that luxury. If not, then you just end up discarding it or whatever, as well as like these all go to damage or something like that, or they're all in hand, whatever. You at least have 1 more that you can play. The ride line, super simple. We have here the grade 1 Straza. When you ride over it with anything, it lets you search out a grade 1 product and put it into your order zone, which is very important that it puts it into the order zone so you can play something extra. And if you play it from hand, you draw a card. Uber does the same exact thing. When you ride over it with a grade 3, you have to put 1 from order zone to drop, to then play 1 from deck or hand. If you put 1 from hand, draw 1. And then as a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast to operate a product. So typically, you just go into Straza, pull up the Iron Garden, go into Uber. Then you can, like if you have the Ixra, you can try and search out with the Lubetzel. You can use the Freiheitz on turn 2 if you want, but you can't place the Threshold's Maximum from your hand, so it's not super helpful, but it is something you can do. Typically, you want to search out like the Boba line if you see it, the Shorty, just to have an attacker, or even a PG, which you can then bounce next turn with your Threshold's Maximum. And then, you want to play the Lubetzel. And then after that, you just want to go double Freiheitz, double operate, blow up the whole board, make your opponent minus something, and then trying to win the game. Alright, so we're back here for another game here. We're going to start in the middle of the game here. We're actually going up against Griffo Gilia for Dark States, which is something I never thought I would say here, but hey, you have St. 9, right? So we're going to ride here. I let my opponent push me pretty hard because I took the Vanguard swing with the crit, and then the column on the side got pretty big because they got a draw as well as a front. So I ended up just taking that because I can use the 4 counterblast here to just set up completely and see what we can do here. We're going to put the Iron Garden in the Soul, as I mentioned. You can just discard it for the Uber skill. And then we're going to use the Lubetzel here, hopefully get something interesting from our draw. It is just going to be a draw. Alright, well, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and play out ourselves our boy, Freiheitz. We're going to go ahead and search out the Threshold's Maximum here, add it to hand, and immediately play it. And then we're going to call out the other Freiheitz that I managed to get into my hand here, do another counter blast. So we're going to go ahead and play double Thresholds here, and we can, show off what it's like when you have full combo. So now I have here both of my Freiheitz here, and I have 4 soul, 2 counter blasts, so I can actually do this. So first we're going to swing in here with this first Freiheitz here. We're going to use this skill here to Soul Blast 2 and operate the Fresh Ults maximum. Once again, pay attention. When the screen comes up, move over to the active Fresh Ults. They look exactly the same, but just pay attention. We're going to use the skill of the Fresh Ults here to retire the Demon Strider, just because it can call stuff out, but I don't see that happening. And then we're going to not counter blast here for that one. And then we're just going to allow Welstra to get the 5k, because we did operate a product this turn. And they're going to go ahead and guard with the 10k shield. In general, when you're playing against Welstra, you want to guard early, because after like the second operate, it's just about impossible to guard, right? Then we're going to attack here with the second Freiheitz, boosted by the Bubble Mine. You could have done it in the other way, I think. It might be a little bit more beneficial to do it in that way. Got it, so blast 2 for a second. Just because it's going to be bigger attack against your opponent's bigger value, so it's a little bit harder for them to guard. I don't actually know the exact, I guess, math or the decision tree, which of the two is better. But we're going to go ahead and activate the second effect of the Fresh Ults this time around, so we can actually get the 4 attacks. So we're going to counter blast and not bring up the one that's in our hand, but actually pick up the other one that already attacked. So that's kind of the pattern you want to do. You want to attack with one, use the skill, not counter blast, use the other one, use the skill, then counter blast. Then we're going to go here with Welstra, use the skill, and then counter blast again to pick up the remaining Freiheitz. This you can also use now in the TCG if you're facing up against Diva, because you can actually clear up your whole board, right? Because you can return all your stuff like your Bubble Mine can go into the Soul, or maybe just leave yourself with just an X grab, and then this lets you add back your Freiheitz back to your hand. And then the Fresh Ults leave the field at the end of the turn, I believe specifically like the end of a battle, right? So we're going to use Welstra here to activate the last Fresh Ults that we have here. It's going to not retire, but it is going to reduce the beautiful Gimme here to a whopping -2 as we go ahead and play out another Fresh Ults maximum here. And then Welstra is going to swing in with a huge and nice 28k. So this is pretty hard to guard here. You can drop 2 critical triggers or just 2 triggers, and that'll bring you up to 28. So you have to drop at least 3 cards, or I think you can get away from maybe 2 fronts. Fortunately, we're not going to be able to check anything, and I didn't get an extra Lobetzel in hand on turn 2 to play it from hand. So we're, we're doing okay. I managed to draw into a lot of triggers, and I kind of had to end up discarding a few, which is a bit unfortunate, but we should be okay here. They're just going to take the 1 damage. More importantly, it's not a trigger, which means that this attack basically goes in equally as dangerous as the Vanguard swing, because it's about as many cards. You need 2 cards here. So they're going to go ahead and no guard here, take this attack, which is typically what you kind of have to do, is just kind of take the attacks and hope for the best, because it's just you're at -2. Right, and then we got one more swing here. They can, if they want, just take this, try and heal deny me, and maybe kill me next turn. But let's see what they do if they have the hand to actually stop this. I don't remember what they drive checked the previous. Oh, it was a front and a draw, which they already guarded with a front. So, well, they had another one here, right? So yeah, that's a lot of cards, a lot of shield to have to throw out there. But they're going to be able to guard, stay with 4 cards in hand. Both of our Fresh Ults here are going to go back into our order zone, and you can see here we're not in the best spot. So the other thing about Welstra that I really like is that it's not the kind of deck where you just do the same thing every single turn, right? A lot of decks in Overdrive is just constantly you recycle the same thing every single turn, do the same exact motions constantly, boom, 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 every single turn. Welstra is really different because it's so resource heavy that you can't typically do that every single turn unless you like get really lucky. So I could have had the option to like mix things up here, maybe not go in as much, save some resources in for next turn, considering that there was no way I was going to kill them unless I managed to check like a lucky trigger or something like that, right? So that's kind of the things you got to keep in mind. Unless I Persona Ride, I have no soul. And even if I Persona Ride, I have 1 use of Freiheitz. I have 3 of them in my hand. It's kind of unfortunate. We're going to go ahead and PG here. And we obviously can only do 1 Freiheitz. But we definitely don't need a double Freiheitz, let alone triple. So we're going to go ahead and discard that here. We can't survive until next turn. If we get lucky and top deck the Persona Ride, we're going to be in a good spot. Or if I somehow top deck into the other Iron Garden that I have, I can maybe Counterblast 1, take one of these attacks, which I think I'm going to do anyways just to have the extra Counterblast. Take one of these attacks, and then Counterblast this card to get an order, and then use that to put it back into Soul. But I do have the Lebetzel. I almost forgot about the Lebetzel here. So I think this is, what, 35? The other attack is just as big, so we can do like this. Which, might have been an overguard. I could have maybe just dropped one card, like just the over trigger, but I don't know. I feel like that's a bit much. They are going to give us the Counterblast here, which we're going to take it since it doesn't have like a crit or anything like that. If we hit like a draw trigger, that'd be nice. A steal trigger would also be pretty nice too. It's instead going to be the critical trigger, which is the only other trigger I guess I didn't mention aside from the over trigger, but that's fine. So we do have the capability to at least do one of these Freiheitz here. We're also going to get the Ixrat here, who might be able to get me something. First, let's go ahead and play a little Betsu from our hand here. There we go. And let's go ahead and Soul Charge, draw and Soul Charge. Ugh, we're going to Soul Charge a Boba Mine here. So we can try and do something funky, but I think it's best to just try and get like 5 attacks here. So we're going to go ahead and play this out. Whoops, don't want to do that. Do not want to use your skill. Then we're going to play this. Do not use your skill. Okay. And then we're going to play this here. We could put in the over trigger as like an extra booster for this, but I don't think that's going to matter. And then we're just going to go in here. We are going to not operate. Unfortunately, we cannot operate. Okay, they are going to guard this. I could have attacked with this one first and operated. Well, no, I can't operate basically until I go with this one. The second attack can operate. So I don't know if it was better to put the booster here. But yeah, this needs to go in boosted, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to attack. So we can go ahead and use this here. I think we definitely want to get rid of both of these Steam Cleans. Clean Sweep? There we go, that's the name. Clean Sweep Dragons there, because otherwise they're going to, well, we're not going to have a lot on board, but we also don't want them to be able to intercept, right? I want to make it guarding as difficult for them as possible. I don't think they can restand next turn, see here, so at least that gets rid of the Clean Sweep, and then I can use my last Thresholds to get rid of the Swirler, so I don't have to worry about that getting too big here. Which I guess is the thought process, is you use Swirler to Soul Charge and then you restand with the Griffogilla and then hit in for a lot of power, I guess is what they were trying to go for. I don't know. Let's go ahead and activate our last Freischutz maximum here. Retire that. Put this down to 3, which, you know, isn't much, but it's better than nothing. And then we're going to go ahead and play this out here. And we kind of just have to hope we win on this turn, unfortunately. There's not really a lot that we can do here. Our opponent doesn't have a lot of cards in hand, so this is at least a front trigger just to match up with what we've got. So if we can check the crit and steal the game here, we'd be in a good spot. But more importantly, if our opponent doesn't check a trigger, we'll be in a good spot. It means both of these attacks are going to be 2 cards to guard minimum, right? Aside from like a PG, but that's still counts as 2 cards to guard. Thankfully, they didn't hit the trigger, so we're just going to go ahead and swing in here. And they're just going to let it go. Hope for a heal trigger or the over trigger that they don't have in deck, because they have it in the right deck. Unfortunate. But yeah, that is Welstra. Hope this helped you guys out. Hope you try out Welstra. And if not, or if you do, either way, till next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Play Vanguard and have yourselves a damn